Major funding for NJTV News is provided in part by the members of the New Jersey Education Association, making public schools great for every child, and PSE&G. We make things work for communities.
Tonight on NJTV News, Newark's rising. Can Newark's residents be lifted up too?
Garden Spire's long a deplorable place to live, getting a major multi-million-dollar facelift.
New Jersey's psychiatric hospitals were plagued with violence, overcrowding, and understaffing. Now, though, the state says they're in the midst of a major turnaround.
And day 2 of Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court confirmation hearings will call the balls and strikes. Those stories and more next on NJTV News.
Live from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio at 2 Gateway Center in Newark, this is NJTV News with Mary Alice Williams.
Hello, thank you for joining us. New Jersey's shaping up as a battleground state in the midterm elections, and national Democrats hoping to take control of Congress deployed the party's power hitter, former Vice President Joe Biden, who expended political capital campaigning for Mikey Sherrill in a congressional district held for decades by Republicans. Chief political correspondent Michael Aaron was there. Michael?
Mary Alice, the 11th congressional district is one the Democrats think they can flip. Their candidate, Mikey Sherrill, has gotten a lot of attention this year. Her opponent is Republican Assemblyman Jay Weber, running to replace incumbent Republican Rodney Frelinghuysen, who's retiring. Today, Sherrill had former Vice President Joe Biden in at a rally here at Montclair State. Biden spoke at length about American values and lambasted Republicans for wanting to cut Medicare, he said, by $650 billion.
These guys keep the Congress, and he stays in office. Do you realize that 70% of all the people in a nursing home are women? And the only reason most of those women are there, they live middle-class lives. They were not poor. They had to sell everything they had when their families died, when their husband died, to be able to stay in there. And the only thing that keeps them there is Medicare. What happens when you cut that? What happens to all those people? What happens to their lives? What happens when insurance runs out and you sit there and watch, like I and others have, your son die of cancer, only not be in a position to be able to keep them there? What are we doing? Why? What is the justification? It not only doesn't make America healthier, it doesn't make it wealthier either. But it lets 0.1% become wealthier. What has become of us? And my Republican colleagues, they know better. But they're silent. They're afraid. I said I got there when I was 29 years old as a senator. I was there with Watergate. You know who brought down Nixon? Barry Goldwater went to the White House and said enough. Bill Cohen, a Republican from Maine. Howard Baker, one of my close friends. The Republicans. They stood up. And they said enough is enough is enough. This is not who we are as a country.
Sherrill, a former Navy pilot and federal prosecutor, talked about the stakes in this year's election.
We have a duty as citizens of our democracy to fight for what we know is true, to fight for what we know our country stands for. Because, as the Vice President reminded us this weekend, while John McCain was a great hero, this country actually wasn't built by heroes. This country was built by ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Governor Murphy was here as well and revved up the crowd.
Now more than ever, with a president who holds our values in contempt and a Congress too scared to push back, we need leaders with steel in their spines to lead us forward. We need leaders who put people before party and values before politics. We need leaders who will roll up their sleeves and get to work, who won't take that "it isn't my job" or "that's just fine the way it is" for an answer. We need leaders who talk with us one-on-one and don't tweet at us.
Mikey Sherrill's opponent, Jay Weber, had the current Vice President Mike Pence in for a fundraiser a few weeks ago. That visit was closed to the press. The Weber campaign put out a statement today saying now we see that Mikey Sherrill is beholden to Democrat bosses like Joe Biden and called her the candidate of elites. From here, Sherrill and Joe Biden went to their own fundraiser at a private residence in Montclair. At Montclair State University, I'm Michael Aaron. Mary Alice, back to you.
Thank you, Michael. A second day in the Senate hot seat for President Trump's second Supreme Court nominee. Judiciary Committee members got their first chance to directly question Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Senior correspondent David Cruz has been following the proceedings, and he's here with details. David?
Mary Alice, it wasn't hard to figure out where individual senators stood on the Kavanaugh nomination. Question from members of the Judiciary Committee, 11 Republicans and 10 Democrats, pretty much followed expectations. Generally, softballs from the right and commentary wrapped in questions from the left, with the nominee scooping up the easy ones and pouring on the nuance and caveats on the stickier point. Here's a look at some of what went on today.
What makes a judge a good one, and what influences in your life have shaped your vision of how a judge should go about doing his job?
I think the first thing that makes a good judge is independence, not being swayed by political or public pressure. That takes some backbone. That takes some judicial fortitude. The great moments in American judicial history, the judges had backbone and independence. Respect for precedent is another one. We are a system of constitutional precedent. Precedent is not just a judicial policy. It's sometimes stated that it's just a policy. Precedent comes right from Article 3 of the Constitution.
What would you say your position today is on a woman's right to choose?
As a judge, it is an important precedent of the Supreme Court. By it, I mean Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. Been reaffirmed many times. Casey is precedent on precedent, which itself is an important factor to remember. And I understand the significance of the issue, the jurisprudential issue, and I understand the significance as best I can. I always try, and I do here, of the real-world effects of that decision, as I try to do of all the decisions of my court and of the Supreme Court.
Suppose you had a case involving President Trump or an issue near and dear to the president. What assurances can you provide that you will not allow the president's personal views on a case or personal interest to impact your decision?
Senator, I'm an independent judge. For 12 years, I've been deciding cases based on the law and the precedent in each case. If confirmed to the Supreme Court, that's how I'll do it as well. I'll be part of a team of 9. I'll decide cases based on the Constitution, the law, the precedent, the Supreme Court, working with the other 8 justices, without fear or favor, independently, without pressure from any quarter. The person who has the best arguments on the law and the precedent is the person who will win with me.
President Trump claims he has an absolute right to pardon himself, does he?
The question of self-pardons is something I have never analyzed. It's a question that I have not written about. It's a question, therefore, that's a hypothetical question.
The president, meanwhile, was asked about the hearings and Kavanaugh's performance today. He said he thought Kavanaugh performed brilliantly.
I am. I'm happy with the Kavanaugh hearings. I watched today for a little while. I saw some incredible answers to very complex questions. He's an outstanding intellect. He's an outstanding judge. He was born for the position. I heard as long as 10 years ago, people were saying he should be a Supreme Court judge. I didn't know him at the time, but I was hearing from a lot of people, friends of mine from Washington and other places, saying that Brett Kavanaugh should be a Supreme Court judge someday, and I'm honored that I gave him the chance. I've watched his remarks. I've watched his performance. I've watched his statements. And honestly, they've been totally brilliant.
There were protests again today, interrupting the proceedings, albeit briefly. Democrats on the committee, however, did not call for any adjournments, as they did repeatedly yesterday. In fact, the committee seemed somewhat depleted today, with several senators, including New Jersey's Cory Booker, absent, attending to other Senate business. Booker's staff said he was in and out of the hearing room and huddling with staff, going over his questions. We're told that he's expected to be asking questions at 7 p.m. Senators had 30 minutes each for questions today, although most took longer. So the hearing is cutting into the dinner hour, and this round will probably continue into tomorrow. The next round of questions, 20 minutes for each senator, will follow tomorrow and may go into Friday. Mary Alice?
Okay, thank you, David. The social networks also took a turn on the congressional carpet. That tops tonight's business news. Standing by at the Strategic Development Group studio at the NJCU School of Business is Rhonda Schaffler. Rhonda?
Mary Alice, Congress looked at the political influence of social media today as executives from Facebook and Twitter testified about foreign meddling in the 2016 presidential election and other efforts to influence U.S. politics. Those executives say they've taken steps to weed out bogus accounts and abuse.
We're now removing over 200% more accounts for violating our policies. We're identifying and challenging 8 to 10 million suspicious accounts every week. And we're thwarting over 500,000 accounts from logging in to Twitter every single day.
But some Republican lawmakers are criticizing companies like Twitter for, in their view, minimizing conservative voices on their platforms. New Jersey Democratic Congressman Frank Pallone took issue with that this afternoon, saying President Trump is using Twitter as a bully pulpit to benefit the GOP.
President Trump has demonstrated that the politics of division are good for fundraising and rousing his base, and sadly, Republicans are now following his lead instead of criticizing the president for behavior that would not be tolerated even from a child.
Now, today, the Justice Department said it would look into whether social media platforms are limiting free speech. Elsewhere, a consulting firm that looks at sports gambling is bullish on New Jersey. Eilers & Krejcik Gaming estimates the Garden State's sports betting revenues will overtake Nevada's revenues in just 3 years. By 2021, the firm expects New Jersey to earn $442 million in revenue, beating Nevada's expected take. The group also predicts that by the end of this year, New Jersey could be home to 20 online sports books. Meantime, another study, this one commissioned by the American Gaming Association, says legal sports betting is going to be a win for the National Football League. That study projects NFL revenue may increase by 13.4%, or more than $2.3 billion a year from sports betting. Toyota is recalling 192,000 hybrid vehicles across the country because of a potential fire risk from a faulty wire. The recall includes Prius models built over the last 3 years. On Wall Street, a mixed close today. The Dow was up 22 points, but the Nasdaq slid 96 due to weakness in technology stocks. And those are your top business stories.
Support for the Business Report provided by Verizon.
In 3 weeks, the Port Authority Board is scheduled to vote to raise the minimum wage of airport workers to $19 an hour. And today, Governor Murphy rallied with Newark Liberty's cabin cleaners, baggage handlers, and other low-wage workers. They make $10.45 an hour. $2.55 less than their New York counterparts. In March, the board conditionally approved phasing in a $19 minimum by the year 2023. Now the governor is pressing the Port Authority to grant the wage hike final approval.
But this is a battle, an important battle in a bigger war for minimum wage. And it's a war we're going to not relent on. We cannot accept levels of wages as they are in this state and in this country as they stand today. Even if you've got 2 incomes and you've got a couple of dependents, you are likely living at or below the poverty line today. And even when you get to $19, and God willing we'll get there sooner than later, you're not much above it.
Murphy's also announced a flood of applications for new medical marijuana licenses that'll double the number of dispensaries in New Jersey from 6 to 12. He says the state received 146 applications by Friday's deadline. Those chosen to proceed will be announced November 1st. Murphy says 30,000 people now participate in the medical marijuana program, up from 17,000 in January when he took office. Now to Newark, where city officials and community activists trying to make certain Newark's renaissance doesn't leave behind Newark's residents are resurrecting a Central Ward high-rise that's long symbolized the city's deterioration. Michael Hill reports.
Garden Spires, from well cited for code violations to a celebration of what's to come.
If Garden Spires is going to look like these placards you see up on the wall, then the residents have a lot to be look forward to.
Through public-private financing, Garden Spire's 650 apartments in two 20-story buildings will go from looking like dilapidated public housing to decked-out high-rise condos.
It's going to average $80,000 or $90,000 or $100,000 per unit. I mean, that's effectively building new.
Omni America bought these two buildings, Garden Spires, on August 23rd, closing the deal. Now it hopes to make a huge difference in the lives of all of the tenants and to attract even more.
Looking to put the $50 million into this, to these buildings and give tenants what they deserve is quality of life.
The goal is to restore Garden Spires to better than new when it was built in the 1960s.
This was mixed income housing. You saw people of all occupations and professions. There was no stigma attached to living at 175 First Street, and people were clamoring to get apartments here.
But somewhere along the way, decay set in. Garden Spires became run over with rodents and disrepair, and the targets of former mayor and current Senator Cory Booker, who staged a 10-day protest here, and state senators and housing advocates. Despite conditions, Garden Spires kept passing HUD inspections, and the owners kept collecting $6 million a year in federal subsidies. After a previous tour, HUD's regional administrator said,
"If I could sue HUD myself, I would."
Last July, Newark did sue Garden Spires owners.
That was a turning point.
14 months later, the mayor says the redevelopment fulfills his pledge to keep Newark affordable.
We want decent and affordable housing. We want living conditions that we would live in ourselves.
Patience Roberts has called Garden Spires home for most of her life. She welcomes the renovation, but wants more.
So I'm hoping these new owners will be receptive to be involved within the community, not just as far as paying rent.
I'm officially declaring war
on slumlords and improving how HUD inspects properties.
And this is an opportunity now to make sure that a Garden Spires never happens again.
The consensus here, soon work will transform Garden Spires from the worst conditions to the best for this and the next generation. In Newark, Michael Hill, NJTV News.
Honoring an icon, that tops tonight's Garden State Express. Our first stop, New Brunswick, breaking ground for the Paul Robeson Plaza. The son of a runaway slave was the third black student to attend Rutgers, its first black football player, a two-time All-American who also lettered in 3 other sports, graduating valedictorian of his class in 1919. Robeson used his extraordinary talent as a singer and actor to become a towering figure in promoting African-American history and culture around the world. The Paul Robeson Plaza is a gift from Rutgers' class of 1971. It'll open next spring on the 100th anniversary of Robeson's commencement. Next to Teaneck and a 100th birthday party for a hometown hero. Holy Name Medical Center volunteer and Army veteran Heron Kafafian was stationed in the Philippines from 1942 to the end of World War II, awarded the Purple Heart for injuries sustained in the invasion of Leyte under the command of General Douglas MacArthur. For nearly 15 years now, he's volunteered in Holy Name's gift shop. Holy Name's oldest active volunteer reportedly says it's the best job he's ever had. Finally, Augusta and a fond farewell to the Chatterbox. The retro drive-in for 15 years has been decked out with a rotating collection of movie posters, 1950s memorabilia, and vintage vehicles. The owners describe the decor as a mix of American graffiti, Back to the Future, and Happy Days. One day, the Fonz himself showed up. He ordered the lobster roll. Diners who came for the burgers and fries and a chance to show off their classic rides. Thursday for bikes, Saturday for cars. A final night to bid the chatterbox belonging to a bygone era goodbye. Once the deal's finalized, it'll be raised to make way for a Wawa that can compete with the Quick Check across the street. And that's a Garden State Express for Wednesday, September 5th. Something up in your neighborhood? Tip us off. Conditions inside the state's psychiatric hospitals were so widely criticized, Governor Christie, in the closing days of his administration, hired outside consultants to recommend fixes. The cost? More than $740,000. Brianna Vannozzi reports it's starting to pay off.
The report outlines an 18-month plan to overhaul all 4 state psychiatric hospitals. It stems from years of understaffing and underfunding. The state health department says they've hit the ground running since Governor Murphy took office, with changes underway to turn around a long-neglected system.
Our primary focus is really developing a single system of care with shared, consistent practices and protocols.
After a hiring freeze set in place by the Christie administration, reports circulated of violent assaults on the rise at the hospitals, a severe shortage of psychiatrists and healthcare workers. Ann Klein Forensic Center in West Trenton was on the verge of losing accreditation. Greystone Park Psychiatric Hospital in Parsippany was no better. Before he left office, Christie commissioned a $750,000 report from an outside consultant. The results, just released, highlighting what many in the mental health community already knew.
In the last 6 years, the state closed 3 other major institutions, one for geriatric psychiatric patients and 2 for individuals with developmental disabilities. And as a result of that, the existing psychiatric hospital system, especially Greystone Park Psychiatric Hospital, became overcrowded.
According to the state health department, key changes are already in place, including $23 million for capital improvements and technology upgrades, the hiring of 220 new employees, including 90 at Ann Klein and another 37 at Greystone. Chief medical officers are in place at all 4 hospitals. There's been a 30% reduction in violent assaults to both patients and staff across all systems just in the first quarter of the year, and discharging 60 patients back to the community since January.
We recently have hired a medical director. We received a quality improvement director, and most recent we have a new hire of a chief nursing operator. So our key leadership roles have been actually filled, which is great news.
This commitment with real professionals, knowing what they're doing, have started to turn around in the system like I haven't seen in many a decade.
State Senator and former Governor Dick Cody is a longtime advocate for the mentally ill. Despite improvements, he's still pushing the state to reopen a 5th facility.
I want to see the mix of geriatric patients with younger patients change. Younger patients tend to be obviously more violent, and that's a bad mix.
That's unlikely, though. The state says it's focused on community reintegration, even as both the state and nation face a severe shortage of licensed psychiatric workers.
The work, though, has only just begun, and it's going to take a whole lot more than just extra resources. The health commissioner says he wants to see a whole cultural shift around psychiatric hospitals so that they're not thought of as detention or correctional centers, but places for high-class rehabilitation. In Morris Plains, Brianna Vannozzi, NJTV News.
And now some noteworthy facts that help you know Jersey. The word liberty was added to Newark International Airport in 2002 to honor United Airlines Flight 93. Joe Biden also stumped for Phil Murphy while he was running for governor of New Jersey. Sports betting in New Jersey brought in gross revenue of $3.8 million in July. And the state climatologist now confirms last month's average temperature was 76.8 degrees, making it New Jersey's second hottest August on record. If there's someone who you'd like to get to know Jersey, share. Use hashtag #NoJersey. Tomorrow on NJTV News, legal marijuana. Mayors are demanding control over pot shops in their towns. To share any story you've seen tonight, go to njtvnews.org. I'm Mary Alice Williams. For all the men and women of NJTV News, thank you for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together. NJM Insurance Group, serving the insurance needs of New Jersey residents and businesses for more than 100 years. And Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
PSE&G is building New Jersey's clean energy future. We're working to protect our network against extreme weather, expanding and upgrading transmission lines, and modernizing our natural gas system by installing new, more durable underground pipes. At PSE&G, our goal is to make sure you have the safe, reliable energy you need to power your life now and into the future.
In every county across the state,
I do like that Horizon is a Jersey company. It's almost like a sports team. For us, it's like ours.
in sickness and in health.
You never think it's going to happen to you, especially being so young. Horizon has been there for me through everything I've been through.
With experience and stability, we're behind you.
You know, we're hardworking people in New Jersey. Horizon gets us.